Okay.
Okay, good. I'll call to order the meeting at 7 o'clock. Approval of the agenda. Regular council meeting, June 9th, 2025. Moved by Councillor
Clark.
Clark, thank you, and seconded by
Wilder.
Councillor Wilder, thank you. That the agenda for the regular council meeting of June 9th, 2025 be approved as circulated. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, we'll look to call the question. All those in favor say aye, and then those in favor. Adoption of the minutes, special council meeting, June 2nd, 2025, moved by Councillor Wilder and second Vicky, thank you. That the minutes from the special council meeting held on June 2nd, 2025 be adopted. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, I'll look to call the question. All those in favor, say aye. And I know that it carries. Regular council meeting, May 26, 2025, that the minutes from the regular council meeting held on May 26, 2025 be adopted. Moved by Councillor
Clark.
Okay, so we had Clark and on the left. Okay, good, perfect. All right, so we are. Yep, okay, so I'll look to call the question. All those in favor? Aye, okay, and it carries. And we're now at public input. So we'd like to thank the people that have come forward. And we have I'll just go through, we have a period of 15 minutes, which will be made available on each regular council meeting agenda for members of the public. This, to make submissions to council, any person wishing to speak during the public input period must so indicate it by raising their hand. Each person will be permitted to 2 minutes to comment on the items presented in the agenda. Second opportunity to speak is permitted when all other interested parties have had an opportunity to provide their comments. Comments must be directed to the chair of the meeting and not to individual members. Questions can be directed to question period at the end of the meeting. We have delegation and presentations. I understand we have 2 people here.
No, just do the public input first.
Oh.
General public.
Okay, any public input? Seeing none? Calling once, calling twice. Thank you for the public input.
Very quiet group.
Yeah. We're used to that. Okay, so we have the Anmore South OCP amendment process. We have 2 people here. I believe it's Leslie Harrigan.
Leslie is not here tonight, but I am here with one of my other directors.
Okay.
That is Ken Jubic.
Ken,
This is Ken Jubic.
okay.
Jubik, is that correct?
And you're Neil Lyons.
Yes, I do most of the speaking, and Ken is here to help answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Go ahead. We'll look at the time you have is 10 minutes.
May I pass these out to you first?
Sure.
This is our presentation, and it's got supporting documentation. So far.
Thank you.
So we're using key in it.
Thank you. Councilor Wilder.
Okay.
Gracias, thank you.
So my name is Neil Lyons, and I'm one of the directors for the Anmore Residents Association. And as I said, Leslie couldn't be here tonight, but Ken is here to help answer any questions you may have. Thank you for allowing us to come out before you. ARA are here as part of our awareness campaign regarding what we consider to be a crisis in Anmore. Simply put, a rift between Anmore Council and its residents has been slowly deepening over the past 5 years. How did we get here? It began in 2005 when the Anmore Council of the day decreed a special study area overlay dubbed Anmore South. This idea was designed to allow for a greater variety of future land use options, such as an artist village, light commercial space, other kinds of housing options, and so on. Following that, the Anmore South lands were purchased in its entirety from Imperial Oil by Icona Properties, who in 2021 proposed a plan to develop the site with a high-density project that included high-rise towers. Protests almost immediately broke out along East Road and Sunnyside. This kind of development meant that the OCP would have to be amended to allow for the land use change from rural to urban, which is at the crux of the crisis. This runs contrary to why Anmore Village was created, which was to remain rural and outside the Metro Vancouver urban land use, urban containment boundary. This constitution, we consider a quasi-constitution, is known as the Anmore Concept and was the brainchild of Hal Weinberg and Bob Hunter. One can understand why the residents were quick to mobilize to protect their rural identity. A 400-name petition demanding a referendum, which has been attached to your presentation there, demanding a referendum followed and was presented to council by the Save Anmore Coalition in January 2022, which council did not respond to and even ignored, I would say. Residents became more vocal as our current council continued to ignore resident calls to be heard. ARA polled its members and 100% of the respondents wanted a referendum. More recently, another society called the Anmore Neighbours Community Association, known as ANCA, hired a professional survey company to ask the rural or urban question of the residents, which is also attached as a document. It's a wooden document. And 78% of the residents desired to remain rural, with 9% in favor of urban and 13% were undecided. While all of this was going on, Icona, headed up by CEO Greg Moore, who I'm sure you've heard of, have been aggressively promoting their vision of Anmore South through mail-outs, workshops, and council delegations. Icona's Greg Moore and Mayor John McEwen have been praising the proposed plan of Anmore South through the media as part of a solution to the housing crisis. Indeed, the residents in Anmore should feel guilty for not doing their fair share in solving the housing crisis, which they did not create, and be prepared to sacrifice their rural identity in the process. In reality, Icona Properties have no experience building out developments, but if the amendment is passed, we'd see a sizable gain on their investment without putting one shovel in the ground. It all boils down to money, in our opinion. So instead of appeasing residents with a referendum because the outcome would not favor their agenda, Anmore Council has chosen a public consultation process, which in our opinion is tainted and has been dominated by Greg Moore. Even Mayor McEwen has repeatedly referred to the process as proponent-driven, which makes no sense to us. We believe our OCP is ours and should be community-driven. As demands for a referendum grew, council then decided not to allow residents to speak at council meetings on anything relating to Anmore South. This has further irritated or infuriated the residents. Hence all the signs you see around Anmore today, if you've ever been up there in the last little while. The idea being, council won't hear the residents. Maybe we can communicate our concerns through our signs. That is how bad things have gotten. The Anmore Neighbours Community Association, ANCA, also consulted a legal firm who has sent a strongly worded letter to council, which is also attached as a supporting document, citing grave concerns regarding disallowing freedom of expression and accusing council of bias and lack of procedural fairness. Council have used this as a further excuse not to discuss Anmore South with the residents under the advice of their lawyer or our lawyer. ARA's request to meet with our mayor and councillors on an individual basis have been declined because they consider us to be part of this other group, in which we are not, because we have a different board of directors. Where are we now? We believe that Mayor McEwen and council are poised to pass the OCP amendment to change the land use from rural to urban, as well as Icona's proposed plan for 1,750 new residences, which will triple the size of Anmore, against the will of the residents of Anmore. The amendment then must be reviewed by Metro Vancouver, where we are concerned it will be rubber stamped because past Chair Greg Moore and current Vice Chair John McEwen have substantial influence on that board. Population of Amor could potentially triple and traffic will increase dramatically. Amor residents commissioned their own traffic study, which suggests the village study paid for by Icona is flawed. We paid for that study ourselves. In addition, water and sewage will have to connect through Port Moody, which will require a major upgrade along the full length of Ioka Road. Again, the village studies have been oversimplified, resulting in a strongly worded letter from Port Moody's mayor outlining her concerns and her council's concerns, which I have not included, but we can forward that to you if you like. Ioka Road residents will be hugely impacted by both the sewage and water upgrades and much heavier traffic, which Ioka Road was not designed to handle. We believe that Belcarra will be similarly affected by clogged access roads, inappropriate evacuation routes during an emergency such as a forest fire, earthquake, environmental concerns, and the list goes on and on. It appears that Amor Council and Icona are not concerned with how the proposed plan will affect Belcarra and Port Moody. In addition to not responding to Port Moody, and I don't believe they responded to your letter neither. I may be wrong about that. But at the date of this being penned, it wasn't. But we had no proof of that. Amor Council are also guilty of not responding to environmental organizations such as the Burrard Inlet Marine Enhancement Society and the affected First Nations who have outlined their concerns. We have been in touch with them, and this is what they tell us. In conclusion, Belcarra, like Amor, represents one of the few remaining rural villages under the Metro Vancouver regional governance, and will also probably eventually be under pressure to urbanize. We are reaching out to you tonight, not only to raise awareness, but to enhance a conduit of communication between Belcarra and the Amor residents. We believe that our council is not doing that, which we hope our organization can help facilitate. We suspect that as valued neighbors, you may share many of our concerns and hopefully will join with us in an effort to convince Amor Council to reconsider and maintain its rural status. Thank you. And if you have any questions, we would be happy to try to answer them.
Okay. Okay.
For clarification.
Yeah. So we have time for clarification questions.
Sure.
Go ahead, please.
I'm just curious, do you have any idea what the cost of a referendum would be?
No, we think it would be, if approached as an assent vote, we think it would have been a lot cheaper to just go to an assent vote. There are only 850 households in Anmore, so it's easy to, it should be a fairly inexpensive process. Referendums tend to be pricey, no doubt about it. But because of the size of our community, we think it makes more sense and it would get to the truth, what's going on in our community.
Okay, and just to follow up, then who would fund that? Do you know?
It would probably be funded by the city,
Let's see. Okay,
by the residents.
thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else on council? Councilor Elwood, go ahead, please.
Yeah, just thank you to, your delegation for coming on. And as in all things, we hope for fairness in all decisions, it's always important to everyone. And we hope fairness will prevail for all of the stakeholders involved. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else with a question or a comment from council?
Just a comment. Thank you and more residents for coming. Thank you for a very good presentation and documents. So, that's the first time I'm seeing. I think you're saying this is in my hands here. The forum research. Can you just clarify for me? That was a survey.
That's recently.
Yeah.
And that was done by ANCA. We are ARA.
Okay. Oh, okay. Two different groups.
Yes, it's
Okay.
two different
Oh,
groups,
okay.
yes.
That's what I wanted.
ANCA are also the ones that have employed a lawyer to look into things as well.
Oh, okay. So that's
We are more of an awareness. We like to raise awareness, and we feel we do a pretty good job of that. And
yes.
they've been focusing on other things. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Yeah. Very interesting. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Waldron, please.
Thank
Go
you
ahead.
very much for your presentation today. We're very well aware of what's going on here, but my question to you is, why did ARA and ANCA not join forces and become like one delegate as opposed to two different entities in ANWR? That just sort of always concerned me or, you know, raised questions with me.
Sure, that's fine. ARA was formed in 2021, and ANCA were formed more recently over the last 6 months, I think. So we did have a discussion with them, and we decided that in so much as we are more of an awareness, we campaign more on awareness and procuring information and disseminating it back to the public and letting them make up their own minds. For example, we did not ask the question, do you want rural or do you want urban? The question we asked was, do you want a referendum? And 100% of our members said they wanted a referendum, of those that responded. Okay. So they have taken we talked about joining, but we decided that maybe it's best that we have two boards of directors, and we just thought it would be better to approach it from a dual perspective, but we do share information and do work in tandem to a certain extent.
And can I have a second question through the chair?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Watching ANWR's council,
Mhm.
they have been vehemently opposed to referendum, it appears.
Yes.
Because they're saying referendum is only because of, should only have a referendum if it's financial impact. And so are you saying that your group disagrees
We
with
disagree with
that?
that. Yes.
You're disagreeing with that?
Our research tells us that you can have a referendum on numerous things. I know what you're saying. You
Yes.
have to have a referendum for certain financial things, like if you were to build a new, in fact, we'll go back about 20 years, we did have a referendum to build a new city hall, and that referendum came back negative.
Oh.
And then they still built the city hall, but they found another way of doing it. But that was like 10 years later, so or 12 or 15 years later. So, but I don't know how.
So, yeah, so you're saying the results of a referendum doesn't actually.
No. The first referendum, they honored it.
Okay.
But they then reapproached it for 10, 15 years later and still built a new city hall. So there's always a will to do things. The political will is always there. You can do that. Now, to address your question on assent voting is actually encouraged by the provincial government, but it's not necessarily considered binding unless they want to make it binding, and it's political will to make it binding. So, but we've always been pushing for a referendum because the information we're getting back is that people want to be heard, and there is probably, we now have this ANCA survey, which tells us that approximately 80% of the population is not in favor of going from rural to urban. Now, ex-mayor Portland Moore, or even next to that word, let's call him past Mayor Moore, right? Of Portland. He has said on CBC that the vast majority of the silent majority, calls it, want it, but he has given us no evidence of that. He has given council no evidence of that. He follows us around as we go to gain awareness by going to CKNW or CBC. Next thing you know, he's right behind us with his version, which is okay. But oddly enough, our mayor is there as well the next day after. So for example, at CKNW, we had an interview with them about a month ago on a Friday, and Mayor McEwen was there on Monday. This is on the Jill
Bennett
show, yes. And on the Tuesday, Greg Moore was there to say his piece. the whole thing to us is very suspicious.
Did you want to?
Can I have one more follow-up question?
Yes, you can.
Okay, my final one is, when you say 80, is that okay?
Yes, it's.
When you say 80% of the population are opposed, you're talking about 80% of the people that answered the survey,
Yes.
correct?
7-8%.
Because you don't know because the full population did not answer. So you're talking about 80% of the results of a survey.
Yes,
Okay,
but
thank you.
ARA believe that that's why we need a referendum.
Okay,
Get to the
thank you.
truth. We want to get to the truth.
Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you for asking good questions.
You're more than welcome, and thank you for all of you for coming and providing information to us. It's been very, very useful and worthwhile, and we will look to, I guess that will end it for us, and I'd like to thank both of you. We didn't hear from you, but thank you for being a good supporter there. Those are important positions. And
We'll, if it's okay, we'll send you our contact information in case you have any other further questions or need any further documentation.
okay,
Okay,
good.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yep, thank you. And you're welcome when we go on to the next one, to quietly leave, and you're also welcome to quietly stay if you.
We're a fun bunch.
Okay? Good. Okay, thanks everyone then. What's that?
One.
Yep, we're good, yeah. So on the items on the consent agenda, we've got two of them. So, okay. All right,
Second.
second, moved and seconded. Okay, and so we have 6.1 and 6.12. We've got a recommendation to receive the items on consent. Moved by Counselor Clark, and, yeah, perfect, it was Vicky. So that the items on the consent agenda of the June 9th, 2025 Village of Belcarra Regular Council meeting be received into the record. So discussion on 6.11 and 6.12.
Items received. Does any council member wish to pull one of those items into discussion? So you can need no one, so the question can be called.
Okay. I'll look to call the question. All those in favor say aye. Aye. And it carries. Okay. We're on to number 8, correspondence proclamations, action items, which is a Life Saving Society BC and Yukon branch, and the Rebel Communications and Events email dated May 30, 2025, providing information on National Drowning Prevention Weeks and requesting that the Village of Belcarra Council proclaim July 20th to July 20, or to July 2025 National Drowning Prevention Week. So do we have a mover and a second?
I'll move.
I'll second since you're pre-moved.
Yeah, I'll go with Wilder, and then I'll go with down on my right. Clark. Okay. So any discussion on that?
Just a comment.
Of course.
Of course.
Of course.
That's my comment.
Yeah, and I would say that by virtue of what we see, it is critically important to have things like this. And so anyways, all those in favor, say aye, and I know that it carries. And then we're going to go to 10, staff reports, and I'm going to ask Melanie to speak if she could.
Right, this is the staff report recommending the replacement of the village's information technology server.
It's a piece of hardware which has reached the end of its service life. A budget amendment is required to move the planned replacement funds from 2026 to 2025.
Okay,
I'll move.
you'll move the recommendation, move and second it. Okay, good. Any discussion on that? We're good? No, well, we're not going
Yeah,
yet.
just on the.
Yeah,
server
yes, you're
replacement
good. That's what I'm saying. You don't have to panic.
Yeah, okay. So, I mean, it doesn't seem like a lot of money for a server, number one. It is the first thing that hits me, but then we're a pretty small entity and I can appreciate that. And I presume that based on what I've read here, that our current server has aged out and all of that. My concern about the cost factor of it is that, is it going to, and again, I guess I trust Sea to Sky and the experts in their judgment here, but with all of the requirements for cybersecurity now, particularly, and also the possibility of future AI, integration, hugely important for to be progressive for staff. Are we satisfied that this is enough to do it? The questions to the chair to let's see, Madam CEO.
Through the chair, the server is more for storage of data, but we do have Sea to Sky, who is our software provider, looking into security needs as well as all of our hardware and software replacements. So you'll see that as part of our next budget cycle, if we haven't come up with.
Okay,
So more to come.
more to come.
Okay,
Thank you.
good. Okay, any further discussion on that? Seeing none, I'll look to call the question. All those in favor say aye, and I know that it carries. Okay, we're on to 10-2. And we've got.
Thank you, Mayor Ross. This is the Stormwater Network Review and Update. As previously reported, on March 31st, 2025, the village received a $10,000 in grant funding from the province's Infrastructure Planning Grant Program, which was approved to go towards Belcarra's Stormwater Collection Network Review and Update project. With this approved funding, staff recommend retaining Land Info Technologies to assist in GIS updates and assist in management planning and support. In 2023, Land Info Technologies developed for the village an open source GIS and asset management reporting platform where infrastructure data is stored and analyzed and reported. The scope of this year's work includes review and updating the stormwater network by documenting asset condition, material, and diameters of the stormwater piping, and inputting the information into the My Civitas program, which is the program that Land Info Technologies developed, which will then prioritize stormwater assets for repair and provide high-level replacement costs and long-term budgeting. If approved by council, the contract award to Land Info Technologies will be based on an hourly rate or hourly rates and not to exceed $15,000 without prior approval from council. Back to the chair, please.
Okay, and we'll look for a movement or second, please.
I'll move it. Second.
Moved by Rosicky and then. Okay, it's on the table for discussion.
I have one question. To the chair. Stuart, we had problems with our GIS, have we not, and settled and sorted out with the mapping?
To my knowledge, we have 3 different GIS programs, one provided by Cooney Group, which gives a mapping of our assets and the land. And this QGIS that was developed by Land Info Technologies that we're currently building out for a different purpose.
And second question to the chair, is it necessary to have 2 GIS mapping? Is that a valid question?
Yeah, I was just saying, can you know how
Okay.
through the answer on
thank
that
you.
one? So as he was alluding to, one is for our planning information. The other one allows us to do our infrastructure, but also asset management. And typically asset management, so holds a whole bunch of different data and it's typically housed on a different platform. So they do speak to each other, but it is necessary to have the.
Okay,
have the-
thank you, that clarifies that.
And we have a note here, attachment 1 to item 10.2, and it's from the provincial government. And it's to council, Mayor Ross and councillors, but I think you played a part in it, is that correct, Stuart?
Your worship, I don't want to take all the credit for this because Ken actually applied for this grant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so any further discussion on that? Seeing none, I'll look to call the question. All those in favor say aye, and I know that it carries. Okay. 10.3.
Thank you, Mayor Ross.
Welcome.
Staff bring forward the 2024 water quality report, which is to be submitted for public viewing and forwarded to Fraser Health by July 1st, 2025, as per requirements of the BC Drinking Water Protection Regulation. Pardon me. In 2024, Belcarra had 192 of 270 parcels connected to the municipal water system. Belcarra utilized 88,558 cubic meters of water, which is 1,396 cubic meters more than the previous year. Staff continued to track the water usage at Belcarra Park. Over the 1-year period, Belcarra Park used 2,070 cubic meters, which is 205 cubic meters less than in 2023. Work program for the water service in 2024 included 2 new water service connections. 50% of the hydrants were flushed and the other 50% received complete tear downs as part of our scheduled maintenance. Meter boxes were inspected in May and November for condition assessment and to record the consumption data of each meter, manually that is. The Tatlow generator and fire pump were inspected, tested, and serviced as part of our yearly maintenance, in addition to the diesel fuel tanks being scrubbed. That's the inside of the tanks, of course. The detailed design of the Tatlow Reservoir chlorination system was completed and submitted to Fraser Health for a permit review. A study report was developed on the water deficiencies I should say, for firefighting with recommendations in it. Staff repainted the exterior of the Dutchman Reservoir, which was covering all the graffiti. And I understand that that's not really part of our potable water system, but it is our water infrastructure. Staff retrenched around the base of Tatlow Reservoir to improve the drainage. And this actually seems to be a reoccurring issue, as every single year it seems to wash out a little bit. So this is something we have to schedule in at least every 2 years. We also replaced the SCADA pack at Tatlow Station and purchased a backup SCADA pack as the equipment is slowly becoming obsolete. We're considering purchasing a few more because there does seem to be a lifespan on these SCADA packs, and we've replaced 2, one last year, one this year, and we still have one left to replace at Strathcona Station. With respect to water testing, all 2024 water samples were taken by staff and analyzed by Metro Vancouver Labs. The lab indicated that all samples taken in 2024 satisfied the requirements of the BC Drinking Water Regulations, and the testing schedule remained exactly the same pattern as it did in previous years. So same pattern, same quality of water, very stable. Back to the chair, please.
Okay, good. And we'll look for someone to move it and second it.
So moved.
Clark and Lisa, thank you. Okay, discussion?
Question
Yeah, go
to the
ahead.
Chair, to Stuart. So Stuart, you were saying the SCADA packs often needs replacement. Is there another company that would be more reliable, that wouldn't need as much replacement, or do you think this is just the way it is?
And through the chair, this is the design of our system we have in place. Those SCADA packs
Yeah.
have basically a lifespan
Yeah.
of about 10 to 15 years.
Mhm.
And And so therefore, that's the reason why we're trying to keep ahead of it by ordering SCADA packs ahead of time.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Clark and Councillor.
Can I try just to the follow-up? So it's a 15-year lifetime for the SCADA. So, I mean, we're building this thing for a long term into the future. And I guess this is software upgrades that are no longer going to be available at some point. And so is there in the works, or is a consideration going to be for a complete replacement of the SCADA system as we know it today?
And through the chair, yes, as stated, the system is slowly becoming outdated. And it is something that we'll have to review as a committee and plan for the future in this respect.
Okay, anybody on this side like a question before
All
they
good.
get a second? Go ahead, and I'll go with Councillor Alworthy and then you, Councillor.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, so, you know, and great results on the testing, it seems, you know, appreciate that. That's useful to know, good information. That's, goodness knows the importance of potable water to all of us, right? And then you mentioned the Belcarra Park, and I see that's in here, and the consumption has dropped off since 2023 from what it was from the park. And so we charge that back to Metro Vancouver, don't we, for consumption, for the fountain and the facilities at the park?
Through the chair, our bylaw currently just charges the regular residential flat rate.
Okay, well, so maybe that should be something we need to look up, but we'll get to it, depends on. And then when you mentioned your testing for that you go into the boxes and for the metering, and you take meter readings. And so do we, at another report down the road, do we get the consumption comparables here on the meter readings for what they are? Because we know we're certainly looking at the possibility of, you know, putting in, you know, this automatic system, which is defunct, the one that's in there, and going to a new system, Neptune, I think you referred to it as, and that's coming up next year, I believe. So is that information that comes back to us at some time?
And through the chair, that data is being collected for the purposes of providing information to council for a detailed report in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, good, and
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. So a comment first, I'd like to thank staff for the great report and for the great work with the water. Like, we have great water operators, always on top. Our water quality is really fantastic. Really, really fantastic. And I brag about it every time I have overseas visitors here, because I'm from Brazil originally, São Paulo. And when people come around my house, I say, you know, you can drink right off the tap. It's a great thing, great thing. We take this for granted, I find, in Canada sometimes, and I really appreciate all this. But 2 questions. Didn't we just spend a whole bunch of money to upgrade the SCADA system 2 or 3 years ago? Something like 90 grand, 60 grand, from the top of my head here. We did spend quite a significant amount just a few years ago. And the second question is, are we looking at some point to maybe up the charges from the park a bit? Because, you know, we're charging the park as much as we're charging our residents. And but I feel like it should be a bit more, perhaps.
Okay, so let me check with Stuart if you have it. Do you have that answer at your fingertips, or would you like to come back?
Yeah, through the chair, with respect to the SCADA system upgrade.
Yeah.
We did do an upgrade of the computer systems, some of the programming that did not involve the actual hardware, the SCADA packs
The packs.
themselves. That's correct. With respect to the other question, that's something that will have to be brought forward at a later date for council to consider.
Okay, is that good with you? And that's good?
Yeah, I think we should consider that. Thank you.
Okay, and
And just my last comment
you go ahead.
through the chair. I think we have discussed at previous councils that we should be looking at charging a commercial rate to the park as opposed to a residential rate. And I think that's something that our new CAO was going to put on her books, because I see her writing notes right now.
That would be good to actually do it. Yeah.
It needs to be done before Doug takes on.
Okay, so we're good. Everybody's finished on this side and this side. I'll look to call the question. All those in favor?
I,
Say aye. Good, okay. So we're now on to 10-4. Melanie, please.
All right, the purpose of this report is to provide council with updated information as well as our next steps on the Anmore South development and consultation process. On May 29th of this year, 2025, Belcarra received a letter from Anmore regarding updates to the OCP amendment bylaw number 686, 2023, which is attached 22. The letter acknowledged the questions that was raised by Belcarra during the early consultation process, and it provides some information in response. The letter refers to a May 22nd, 2025 report to Anmore Council from their staff with information on the OCP amending bylaw and draft neighborhood plan, as well as other details related to the application. If further notes and additional details of the proposal can be found on the Anmore website. So as for next steps, staff are planning to review all available information related to the proposed development and OCP amendment, with a particular focus on answering the questions that were raised during the early consultation process. And staff will bring a report back to council with the updated information.
Okay, so we'll get a mover and a seconder, get this on the table. So
Second.
were you moving that or were you just? getting
Yeah,
it?
I want to ask a question.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'll take her. She was the first mover and second. Okay, so go ahead, please. Now it's on the table.
Thank you. So first, thank you for your work on this, Melanie. Really appreciate it. I do have a question. So council sent a letter, right, to Anmore Council, and they got it on April 1st. But we didn't get a letter back from their council, right, responding us. Correct?
Through the chair, we did receive a letter back. It went to the former CAO, acknowledged the questions and said they would let us know when they had more information available.
Okay, so it wasn't from council, it was from staff, I guess.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, and our letter was from
Yes,
council.
Another part of my clarification
Yeah.
today is to clarify what's been made available for
Yeah.
consultation. So we have been consulted. We did raise questions. Of a particular note as well, I'll note that the planning consultant that raised the questions at the time did not do a thorough review of the information. It
Okay,
was just questions raised. So that's why I want the opportunity to go look at all available information that we can get our hands on.
Yeah.
Try and answer some of those questions and bring that back to you guys so you have the full picture.
okay, thank you. Yeah, because there's very valid concerns here, you know, from this council. Fire department being one of them, but yeah, I'll leave it at that for now. I'm looking forward to see a future report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other speakers to this?
my comment just to the chair, to the CAOs, thank you so much for the work that you've done on this so far. You know, as a new staff here, you've been incredible and you have really jumped in with 2 feet, 4 feet if you were a puppy. But you've done an incredible job and I want to thank you for the hard work that you have done in a short period of time.
My pleasure.
Good. Anybody else on this one?
Just a couple comments.
Okay, go ahead then, please.
Yeah, so anyway, I appreciate this, this update as well. I think that, you know, it's interesting having, you know, had the discussion earlier about this. I know it's a hot topic. I think that, as far as Belcarra, you know, the transportation concerns, the fire safety concerns, the, you know, all of those things, you know, you have to balance that with, you know, yeah, okay, 4 decades ago, there was a referendum done that people didn't want it. And so, you know, I don't know what the appetite is today. So if they could clearly find that out in Anmore, it would be really helpful. But, you know, on the upside, you know, take away all those issues of trying to get in and out of here. And then the fact that you would have potentially some community facilities closer to Belcarra, I actually quite like that. But the traffic issue is a huge one, and as is, you know, for me, to some degree, the environmental side of it with, you know, taking out 3/4 of the forest there, because that's a big area. And so I'm a tree lover. I know they're bad in some ways, but
You're allowed to be a tree lover.
Yeah,
It's a
but-
big profession.
But anyway, so I get how it's a real challenging situation, both for Anmore and then for the surrounding communities. And I don't envy Anmore right now, like, you know, having to deal with this. But at the same time, I look at it and I go, okay, the referendum was done 4 decades ago. This is probably not going to be completed for 2 more decades. And so what does the world look like then? And so, you know, you try to be somewhat future thinking as well. And anyway, just some thoughts on that, because I get the challenge. I don't envy them. I wouldn't want to be part of that right now. But it's nice that we have an opportunity to at least have input. And so, yes, I totally appreciate Melanie as well. Those are my comments.
Okay, good. Thanks, everyone. We're good. Okay, I'll look to the staff report dated June 9th, 2025, titled Official Community Plan Amendment and more update is received into the record for information. All those in favor? And it carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay. And number 13 is Mayor and Council reports. So I attended the Eagle Ridge Hospital ceremony, and there was a member of the Coquitlam Nation there who's an artist, and she came and she spoke, and she was very interesting. She actually was one of the in the 60 scoop. She was scooped, but she was one of the few, by her own admission, that got a wonderful place with a family that supported her in a good way. She's a Coquitlam First Nation artist. And so one of the things we need to look at is we want to, they've been in touch with us. Someone from the Barnacles been in touch, and they'd like to be able to have a larger look at that. So we're going to work with them on that. And then June 1st, I went to Belcarra Day, and Belcarra Day was its usual wonderful place. It was a very, very nice day, and I think everybody here was here, and that was good, and there were lots of people and lots of good things happened. So I want to thank everybody on council. And then June 5th, the Sassenach Volunteer Fire Department Board of Trustees regular meeting, and we had the 3 trustees there, so that was good. Okay, you have a question?
No, I have a little bit of an update too, if I may.
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so yeah, I like to highlight too, Belcarra Day is always great. Crab, you know, always does such an amazing job putting that together. And I want to recognize those volunteers. I probably, if I wasn't on council, I would be volunteering for Crab, but I was always so thankful for the work they do. And you know, I just wanted to highlight and put this out there because it's been going on for years, right? And all this kids party and many different things. I think it's so great, and it really brings the community together. Events like this really does bring the community together. So nice to go out there and talk to people that, you know, you just wave when you're passing by and actually have a conversation. So that was great. And also I wanted to talk about the Sassenach Volunteer Fire Department Board of Trustees meeting. That was last Thursday, so I'm just going to highlight a little bit of what the agenda was like. It's there's a verbal update on the service review, which is nothing new to report. There's the day financials update. It was all reports for information, the quarterly work plan update, the fire chief's report. 2 things to highlight out of that meeting that stood out for me. The first is that we got our grant back for the Sassenach Volunteer Fire Department from BC Hydro. So that is great news, $10,000 yearly for the next 5 years. And also was highlighted the need for more volunteers on the Belcarra side. So we really need more volunteers here on the Belcarra side. It would be great to see somebody signing it up. And again, another thing that I probably would do if I wasn't on council. But yeah, it would be great to have some more volunteers on our side there.
I think those are very good observations.
Yeah.
And that we as a group of trustees and our councillors need to look to do that. It creates a challenge for us by not having.
For sure. And also I'd like to highlight that all the meetings have been recorded and it's available to watch I believe on our website as well, or do we, through the chair, to Melanie, do we have the recordings available on our website for the Sassenach Volunteer Fire Department meetings, or a link to Metro Vancouver's website?
I can add to my council clerk through to the chair. We get those recordings when they're ready. And I usually contact the lady who does their meeting minutes.
Yeah.
And then she'll forward it to me and I'll put it on our website with links.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead, please.
Sure. So yes, I was at Belcarry Day as well. I'm not going next year because I didn't win a prize again this year. So, you know,
Actually, your
Well, that's
ticket.
sour
look at
grapes.
last-
That's sour grapes.
I wanted for you to feel that. I'm not going next year. I'm just declaring that now. Anyway, but June 5th, I think it was, yeah. So I was able to represent us at the Coquitlam Search and Rescue Open House. And it was probably one of the best sessions I've been to in a very, very long time. They did a fabulous job. These are a group of highly motivated, passionate individuals who, you know, go out to search for people that are lost in the woods or whatever they are. They had about 5 different stations set up where they were showcasing their capabilities and their equipment. And it was everything from e-bikes, like high-end e-bikes that they use to get out there, to their jet boat that they even go up Indian River apparently in. And what else did they have? Oh, they have their remote, basically stations that they set up through these big trailers, and the technology is phenomenal. I mean, this stuff is not cheap, but I'm glad they got it. You know, if somebody you're close to gets lost out there, you know, you're in good hands. They also started to use drones, and so they were talking about that, and it's part of the update. It was just phenomenal. Like, and they said that, you know, the individuals that get involved have 2 things in common. 1, they love the outdoors, and 2, they want to help people. And they've got an amazing team there. They get a lot of support from Coquitlam. They're co-located on the, you know, the fire department where the fire hall is in Coquitlam by Lafarge Lake there.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was fabulous. I just could feel the passion from these folks. And so I thought that was excellent. The one thing they don't have that they talked about is night vision. And so where North Shore Search and Rescue does have night vision capabilities, they don't. And so if anybody wants to give a bunch of money to somebody, I would suggest Coquitlam Search and Rescue so that they can have that capability, because they were frustrated. Oh, and the other fun thing was they now have a dog as part of their team who does searches. And so no, Lola couldn't do that. Are you kidding me? Yeah. She's a pet. But anyway, it was so it was super cool, and like I say, lots of passion. And at a starting point, I felt bad being, thank God, Jane, you put things in my calendar, because I was like, I've got that going, and I completely forgot about it. So I whipped over there, got there about 5 minutes late, and Polly and I from Anmore were walking in at the same time. And fortunately, we got lost in the fire hall, and some adorable firefighter had to escort us to the. So it wasn't a bad start. Well, part of a uniform. So anyway, but it was a great session. So I would highly recommend supporting those guys, given the opportunity. That's my update.
That's great.
Thank you very much. Councillor Wilder.
And to the chair, unfortunately, I wasn't able to make Belcarry Day because I have overseas visitors that I was picking up at the airport. But I understand, we have, through Belcarry Day, we're able to, through the raffle, receive, I don't have the exact, I was just scrolling through my phone here. I don't have the exact figure in my head. I believe it was $954.
900 plus, yes.
Yeah, it was $950 or whatever that we were able to donate to the Saskmat Volunteer Fire Association. Plus adding to that the other $500 that we got at our pub night in March. So I talked to Chief Jay Sharp the other day, so they'll be receiving that money. So it was just a wonderful event. So we try to support them as much as we can. So that was through the raffle and the 50-50. Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you.
My ticket money that got me nothing. Hey, Cece won.
I won 2 prizes.
You did?
You
I
should
never
get one
win
to
anything,
Janet.
So I
You
went
should
to,
get one to Janet.
Yeah, I won what you think.
Actually, Janet, I think your tickets got stuck.
Oh, yeah, probably.
We'll work on it.
That was anyway.
Okay, so thank you, everyone. Good contributions. Did you have any contributions from Belcarra Day?
Really enjoyed the event. It was my first one, so.
I got to meet your husband.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
great. Yeah, fun all around and great weather and, of course, great people, so.
Oh, that's good. Okay, so we're now going to, yeah,
That's me.
go ahead.
All right, so for operational and administrative updates, our accounting clerk and financial consultant are busy preparing the statement of financial interest report. That's the SOFI report. Public works staff are doing water system leak detection and repairs. And we're also looking at our security system review and update, just to make sure that's working good and we're ready to plan for future updates if we need to. We did receive a grant award in the amount of $8,480 from the Municipal Insurance Association of BC to update and revise our records management system. So thank you to Amanda Siebert, our corporate officer, for a successful application with that. The 2024 annual report is now available for viewing on the website. It's also at the front counter. That will be available from June 9th until June 23rd. And council will consider that report and input at the June 23rd, 2025 council meeting. And last announcement, we have water main flushing that's planned to start next week. And I believe we have notifications planned as usual to go out.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. And we have 15 notice of motion and matters for introduction in the future meetings. Any? None? Okay, and public.
Oh, sorry.
What?
I thought you said we have 15.
That's what I heard too.
No,
That's not item number 15. I thought you said we had 15 notice of motions.
no, I said 15 notice of motions and matters for introduction in the
funny.
future meeting.
Sorry. See, I told you we were fun bunch.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so we're gonna be on public question period right now. So the people know what we do. We go through and you get a chance to, public is invited to ask questions of council regarding any item pertaining to village business. A person wishing to make a submission will be limited to 2 minutes and the submission must be in the form of a question. A second opportunity to ask a follow-up or new question is permitted if no one else is waiting to participate. Questions, including follow-up questions, must be directed to the chair of the meeting and not to individual members of council or staff. If a question or questions to staff arises during the public question period, the questions must be addressed to the chair and the chair can request clarification from staff. So we're ready. Do we have anybody that wants, go ahead, please.
People read it for you in general. Just wondering if there's a date set for the construction of the entranceway to the ward.
Yep, go ahead, Stuart, please.
Thank you through the chair. The ward driveway or entrance is scheduled to be repaired June 24th to 29th. We'll expect that the ward will be closed down for those days. We will be sending out notices.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. Thank you. Anybody else with a question?
I have a second question, but I forgot what it was.
Well, the good thing is, as you take a little time to reflect, if anybody else has one, it'll give you a chance to come back. Okay, anyone else with a question?
I forget.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Mayor Ross, it wasn't the,
Name and address.
You need to give your name and address if you could, please, and then that puts you in the position to be able to speak.
Ken Ulick. I live in the village of Anmore and I'm with the Anmore Residents Association. First off, I just wanted to thank Mayor and Council this evening for the decorum and respect that they showed to us following Neil's presentation. Thank you very much on that. And the last thing I want to mention, with respect to the Anmore South proposal that the village of Anmore is looking at, this process is moving ahead very, very quickly. As tomorrow, it's likely that first reading will be rescinded, second reading will be given, and they will post the notice for a public hearing to take place. And that's what I wanted to leave you with. The process is moving very quickly. Thank you.
Okay, and thank you for your kind comments. Anybody else?
I
Back
remember.
to you, you remember, good.
When are we gonna be able to use?
If I could, please, I have to remember everything.
I'm in my seventies now, you know?
He just had a birthday. Come on, give him a break. Happy birthday.
When was your birthday?
It's me, April.
It's run out already. Go ahead. Go ahead, please.
No, when are we gonna be able to use the new bin at the work?
Okay, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look to our bin specialist, Stuart.
Thank you through the chair. We are still discussing some changes in how it's going to be organized. So I don't have a date yet for you,
Yeah.
but it will be advertised prior to it being opened up.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you. Anybody else would? I think you've had two, is that correct?
This will be the last one.
No, sorry.
Two.
Two.
Yeah, we have to make sure that we're fair to everybody, and two is the limit. And it would be the
I
limit.
didn't have 2 minutes.
What's that?
I didn't have 2 minutes.
Yeah, you can show up next time and you can run the clock out if you want. Okay. Anybody else with a comment? Okay, seeing none, it looks like we are at a very good time. Adjournment.
So moved.
By Wilder. Can
Second.
someone get in there?
I'll second. They can't beat me.
Okay, and the June 9th, 2025 regular council meeting be adjourned. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you to everyone and thank you to our guests that made the trip over.